Fine. Right, we're gonna do it. Let's just get through it. The Predator 2018 is by far and away the worst movie in the franchise. There, I said it. We're making crazy, outstanding statements on this video. Off the top of my head though, I can't think of a franchise with a lower point than this. Batman and Robin, those terrible Terminator sequels, I'd all rather watch them than have to go back to this. Like, bit of a side note, yeah, every time we do one of these breakdown series, there's always that one you dread going back to that, you know, is coming down the line. Like, The Matrix was rough, but nothing compared to how much I wasn't looking forward to this film. We have gratuitous callbacks, Sterling K. Brown hamming it up, and Hollywood doing their classic Rain Man move where autism's a superpower.
You know, a lot of experts say that being on the spectrum isn't really a disorder. It's actually the next step in the evolutionary chain.
However, upon researching it, I actually found lots of interesting things about what was in the original cut. Whether it was the links to Dutch or the discovery of Newton Ripley, believe it or not, it had some big ambitions. So what went wrong, and ultimately, is there anything to salvage from the movie? Well, that's what we're going to be going through in this video. Hit the thumbs up because I deserve it, mate, and make sure you subscribe for our videos like this every week. With that out of the way though, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into The Predator. So on paper, The Predator has all the DNA to be one of the best movies to date. Shane Black directed and co-wrote the film, and if you watched our Predator 1987 breakdown, you'll know why that's important. If you're an absolute chump who haven't seen it then, let me tell you anyway.
I'm nice like that.
Shane played the hilarious Hawkins in the original movie and was actually brought on with the hopes he'd help write the script. While he refused, they cast him in the film, and he did come up with some of the one-liners in the jungle.
The other day I went up to my girlfriend. I said, you know, I'd like a little pussy. She said, me too. Mine's as big as a house. She wanted a littler one because hers was big as a house.
A lot of the quotable lines from the first film, they come from Black, and he's a key factor that made that movie a classic. Now, he did refuse to write the script basically, so they killed him off first, but yeah, getting him back for this felt like a massive win. After Predator, he went on to write Lethal Weapon and even directed Iron Man 3, which yeah, I don't think is that bad.
You say something so controversial yet so brave.
But whew, this movie's a massive misfire across the entire spectrum. Now, that's not an autism joke. Now, Black was approached after Iron Man 3 and asked to make another Predator entry. His Iron Man movie had just made $1 billion, and he seemed like a surefire bet. In doing this, though, it meant the sequel to 2010's Predator was officially dead and buried. Robert Rodriguez has stated how they saved a lot of cool stuff for a sequel, but that would never now come to fruition. This is due to the studio wanting a simple and contained movie first, but then he never got the follow-up, which is a real shame of Black if you ask me. Now, originally the movie was going to be a reboot. However, getting Shane on board restructured the entire project. He stated he had a fresh new idea for the franchise and a way to take things without altering the past. He wanted to make a sequel to the original 2 movies, and thus the reboot plans went out the window. And on top of this, Shane had a couple of things that had to be in place for him to sign on to the project. The first of these was that it had to be an R-rated gory movie. Deadpool was massive at the time, and he actually cited that as being the reason they let him do it. Deadpool was also a Fox property and went on to be the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. That was until Joker took the title. However, it was clear you could still break the bank with movies like this. Expanding the mythology was also a big part of developing the script. And oh boy, did he expand the lore. The director wanted to make The Predator an event movie and spin it off into a brand new franchise. Sort of similar to how Dan Trachtenberg used Prey to springboard into an animated movie in Predator Badlands. Black promised a return to the intimate scale of the original though, and teased we'd have a same sense of wonder as when audiences first saw Close Encounters, which I'm sure you'd all agree with that.
So that was a fucking lie.
Filming for the movie began in February 2017, with reshoots then taking place in 2018. Now if you cast your mind back, there were a lot of rumours that the movie was a stinker. Leaked test audience reactions and pages from the script getting out there, it signalled this was going to be bad. The feedback was they'd leaned too far into the comedy and that things got mental when we went to Area 52. The studio panicked because of this though, and the film was changed significantly. I remember watching Mr. H's review video describing all the deleted scenes, and they sounded absolutely mental. They had Yucha teaming up with the humans and Rory flying a spaceship, which yeah, maybe for the best that was cut. In the end though, the entire third act was ripped out like a Yucha collecting a trophy of someone's head. This even resulted in entire characters being cut. In the end though, it was still a disaster, and I do wonder if they should have saved money and stuck to the plan. If anything though, it should have been the most accurate film in the franchise. This is due to it featuring an actual predator. Yep, along with the nightmare that came with the movie itself, we also had a lot of controversy behind the scenes. During production, Shane had hired a friend who played a small role. In the scenes, he hit on Olivia Munn's character, and this would happen early on when she investigates the predator. One problem though, he'd been a registered sex offender since 2010. Upon hearing about his conviction, Munn then requested the scenes to be deleted, but the issue was, it was just days before the premiere. Beyond that, we also had several delays. The movie was originally slated for February 2018, but was moved to avoid clashing with the Meg. Probably for the best as well, as that movie made over double the money of this one. The new August release date was then changed to September 2018, which was down to the backlash and having to reshoot the film. So it sounds just like an absolute mess from start to finish. What they did film though, that was shot in Canada, and you may recognise some of the sets. The school, football field and barn, they were all used in the TV show Smallville. I shut up when watching it, as that barn's burned into my brain. At first glance though, the ensemble cast has some pretty solid choices too. I was especially excited for Roy Holbrook to play the leading man of the movie. His turn on Narcos and being the villain in Logan, that made him a solid choice for the role, and it definitely felt like he was on the up and up. However, he wasn't the original choice. Other people in the running included Ben Affleck, Bradley Cooper, and even Conor McGregor. The latter turned it down due to pay, and yeah, the movie has enough controversy around it as it is, so thank you very much. Benicio del Toro was also wanted by the studio, but he had to opt out due to scheduling conflicts.
Adios.
Which yeah, dodged a bullet with that. When casting the Loonies though, the aim was to get a bunch of people who were great actors, but not necessarily the huge bodybuilder guys from the first film. Shane said how he'd seen soldiers on the news and they just looked like normal dudes. This was sort of the thinking I brought up last time with Brody, and how he was actually more like the kind of soldier you'd see in real life, rather than like Mr. Olympia Arnie. Speaking of Arnie though, he was supposed to make a return, but like Predator 2, it wasn't meant to be. He'd have come back at the end in a chopper and would say, "Come with me in the chopper." Don't know if that's like a reference to "come with me if you want to live," but it's definitely a reference to "get to the chopper." This would then tease a sequel, which would pick up more of the threads left dangling at the start of the first film. Admittedly, yeah, it would have made the jump from the forest battle to the lab less jarring, and would also continue the trend from Predator 1 and 2 of choppers being used at the end. I will discuss the other alternate plan with Ripley and Newt towards the end, but for now, let's get to the breakdown! Get to the breakdown! Crap album, shit.
You're one beautiful motherfucker.
Okay, so the movie opens in space as we pan up and see two ships. It's almost exactly like the first movie. However, instead of a single scout ship, we have a dogfight between the two of them. This builds off the threads of Predators, in which we learned of the bad blood between breeds. However, that technically hasn't happened yet. No idea why, but according to Shane Black, this takes place before the events of Predators. It conveniently allows them to just mention the incidents in 1987 and 1997. Though yeah, you'd be fine setting it after, it doesn't make any difference. We then see the title, which shares the same font as the original. This shows us that it's very much building off that first one and giving us a continuation on the same path. The Predator aimed to almost recapture that feeling of the jungle, and originally we were going to see a block of text which would recap the first two films and set the stage for this one. It would introduce Project Stargazer and how it was funded by top linguistic professors. The aim there being to decipher the Yucha language. It would show a deciphered transmission saying, "Traitor Yucha, kill." This also ties into the prequel novel, which we'll break down in just a bit. This does, however, get referenced by Traeger near the end of the movie when he says the project's funded experts. We then get a good look at the ships, and they seem more modern and sleek than the first one. They also look completely different from the Lost Tribe ships at the end of Predator 2. Also, love the wormhole technology, which opens up a portal across space. We then cut to the inside, and the interior sets were made life-size, and they had to actually build it to fit a 7-foot tall alien. Each of the steps are very steep, and the screens and doors are huge. Inside, we then see the fugitive hop inside an escape pod and eject. This is similar to the first movie where the jungle hunter landed on Earth in a pod. Originally, we would have also seen why the fugitive was being chased. It was revealed that he stole these creepy predator spider hybrids from the upgraded Predator. They were intended to be released on our planet, but the plan was stopped by the fugitive. This would then lead to the chase that we see. The fugitive hunter would then come to Earth and give us the tech to fight a future invasion from the upgrade and the hybrids. We then see the ship crash land, but also get a good look at the frenemy of the movie. Just like the previous films, they put great emphasis on having a guy in a suit as opposed to using CGI for the creatures. Amalgamated Dynamics worked on making the effects, and they're easily the best part of the movie. They're also no stranger to the franchise, as they worked on Alien Resurrection along with AVP. Which, say what you want, mate, but those xenomorphs in Resurrection are the best in the franchise.
Brian Alexander Prince was also cast as the deadliest enemy known to man.
He's 6'10" and even does parkour.
Parkour!
Those skills can be seen in the movie as we see him escaping the Project Stargazer lab. Now, like Predator 2, the face had full animatronics, which adds another layer of realism. However, Brian said the head was so tight it gave him bruises on his nose. Which, yeah, if you've ever worn a mask or if it presses down on your face, doing that for hours, mate, you can see why. It was so complicated that you had to have two people controlling the face, with one on the top and one doing the bottom sections. The suits for the Ucha, though, they look absolutely stunning, especially if you've seen the behind the scenes footage. The skin was airbrushed and hand painted, which allows it to really shine on screen, and yeah, it looks great. The effects look great. Oh fucking hell, what the hell is that Predator dog shit? Yeah, pretty bad that. One of the ethos of the designs, though, was to make the tech look much sleeker. This is also why the ships, they look like something out of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. One of the major changes was that the mask also had its own cannon, as opposed to just the paragon that they used to have on their shoulders. In regards to the upgraded Predator, he was also a mix between practical and CGI. While shot from behind, a torso model was used, however, whenever he was fighting, they obviously had to use motion capture. This was the same for the Predator Hounds too, and they were a mashup of dogs and even at points rhinos. They somewhat returned from Predators, where the Predator dogs were used to test the humans. However, the design's completely different, and yeah, the continuity again, bit all over the place. Now, the mocap itself for the big suits, that featured the actors using what looks like to be crutches to get the movement just right, which looks hilarious when you see it in the behind the scenes footage. Cutting to Quinn McKenna, it's at this point I got PTSD flashbacks. I remember, right, I went to see this at Cineworld, and for some reason, they just started playing the 3D version. But no one had glasses, so they kept restarting the film, but then playing the 3D one. Got to the point, like, we watched the intro about 5 times, and yeah, coming back to it fucking killed me. Core memory unlocked. I do think the way they introduced Quinn's pretty apt though. He's camouflaged in the jungle, which plays nicely off what the Predators do as well. Here he's looking over a Mexican cartel hostage deal, which does alter things from the original version. There it was going to go down at a drug dealer's mansion, but I think the woodland setting works better. Just kind of aligns it with the original, and in addition to that, the cartel, it's also pretty on brand for the time of the release. Narcos and even Better Call Saul were popular at the time, with Holbrook of course starring in the former. His spot's then disturbed by the crashing ship. Now, when the ship was falling earlier, yeah, it was daytime, but now it's like the middle of the night.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Which, yeah, and the landing was actually cut from the film, but it is visible in the trailer. It's an interesting choice, but as mentioned, so much was cut, and yeah, nerds like me, we noticed this shit. Now, it's at this point that Quinn takes the gauntlet and biomask. Classic staples of the franchise then start to seep in as we hear the unmistakable clicking. Right as the prior films teased out the Predator, here it just goes down much, much earlier. Those recordings return just like Billy's laugh and the cemetery scene in Predator 2. It puts them in a state of confusion while also drawing them to check out the noise. Classic video game strategy. A body then drops down. It's the same jump scare moment as the first movie, complete with similar music cues. Predator 2 also had an upside down body at the start, but it's much more of a jump scare here. The fugitive though, not very smart. He flips his camo off and on, which alerts the 2 soldiers to his presence. Also, dumping a body in front of 2 people looking at you, mate. Quick way to get caught. Have you never played a video game before? Also, side tangent, yeah, right? So, the fugitive, right? He's trying to give humans the Predator Iron Man suit, right? Which will allow them to fight back against the Predators, but why is he killing them? I do feel like you can excuse it, like maybe he's just testing the humans, but yeah. Stupid. It's just dumb.
So dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb!
The pair are then shot out with the plasma caster, with Dupree getting a hole blasted right through him, just like poor old Blaine. Luckily, the gauntlet auto fires what looks like a wrist-mounted smart disc. It brutally severs Haynes, and then blood drops down onto the fugitive. Actually, really love the way the blood's used to reveal the creature, and kind of wish this had been our first look in general. Dan Trachtenberg would then do something similar in Prey, but there it worked much better. Can't believe he stole from the Predator! Trachtenberg, you hack! Hachtenberg, you hack! Quinn then flees into the night, and as far as openings go, I was like, yeah, this movie's much better than I remember. I did even wonder if perhaps I'd treated you too harshly, but then we get into the kind of buffoonery that I just can't sanction. It's here that we meet Sterling K. Brown in his worst performance ever.
Remember, they're large, they're fast, and fucking you up's their idea of tourism.
I do love this line though, and it kind of plays into how the hunters just come to the planet and treat it like a safari. Brown's, of course, a phenomenal actor, you know. I was saying this is his worst performance. Like, he's having fun with it. He's clearly doing a lot with it, and he is an enjoyable person to watch. But when I say worst, I mean, like, you're better than this. You are better than this. He just won an Emmy for This Is Us, and also The People vs. OJ, and though Sterling was a sterling choice for the role, they wasted him. I'm just glad it didn't completely destroy his career, though. They do kind of misuse him, and I actually think he would have been a great lead, but he's basically just a sort of even more crazy version of Keys from the second film, but also a total smarmy dickhead. Sadly for me, the character just doesn't work. This first appearance is cool though, and obviously, you know, government suit roles, it's kind of an archetype in these films. Later though, it just descends into comedy and jokes, and he basically becomes a cartoon villain. At this point though, he's in charge of a group known as the Reapers. They were explored a bit more in the book, The Predator, Hunters and Hunted. There we learn they're occasionally loaned out to the CIA for jobs in exchange for funding for Project Stargazer. That book actually serves as a prequel to this movie, and there we learn that the Ucha have not returned to Earth since the events of Predator 2. But one is suspected to be on the planet. General Woodhurst now actually heads up Project Stargazer and was supposed to be in this movie. Edward James Olmos was cast, but his entire role was cut from the theatrical release. You could say he was almost in the final cut, eh? In the book, the Reapers managed to capture alive Ucha, despite half the squad being killed. It escapes and then leads to a deadly showdown in which it triggers the same self-destruct that the Jungle Hunter used in the first film. The prequel then ends with Traeger in charge of the project after securing private funding. Finally in control, he's informed that the Ucha has contacted its homeworld. They're calling him back up, which then sets up the events of the Predator. His outfit also reminded me of the Special Forces guys from the 90s, and if you'd like to outfit yourself in some Predator clothing, why not check out our merch store right below the video. You may have already seen our Jungle Hunter inspired shirt with the manliest handshake of all time, but wait, there's more! We just launched this brand new one to add to the collection. We have a whole host of other shirts on there as well, and if you pick up 3, you get 20% off. Shabow! Now we see Quinn as he wanders through Mexico alone. Got that yellow piss filter on, so you know for a fact it's Mexico. Being there myself, it didn't look like that, but he decides to basically send the gauntlet back home through the post and swallows the cloaking device before being captured. Don't know why I couldn't just sneak on board the airplane with it all, as you can turn invisible, but here we are. The ball is retrieved later, and I guess you could call it Shitov's spear, or not. This scene felt weirdly short though, then you would be correct. It was originally much longer, and so much was cut out of this movie that you definitely feel it as you watch it. We jump from scene to scene, barely spending any time with anyone. Now in a deleted scene, we actually got a moment where Quinn was picked up by Traeger. The CIA arrived and then took McKenna to the prison that we see him at later. Whereas in the final cut, they catch him and we don't know why or how. We do hear a kerfuffle outside in the theatrical cut, but some of these scenes were definitely needed. So it's not just like there's a sound in the background that you see off screen. You figure it out, mate. From here, we then jump to the school, which, as mentioned earlier, is the same one from Smallville. I guess somebody couldn't save the script because it's shit. Looking at the sign, though, we can see it's the Halloween Haunt, which leads to an absolutely insane mask scene later.
Here's a treat, you little shit.
Now, in what's a bit of a departure for Shane Black, this movie does not take place at Christmas. Despite Lethal Weapon, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3 and also The Night Guys, despite them all being set around the holidays, this is Halloween. The sign says, welcome parents and STDs, which obviously means students, but yeah, there's a joke that kids are the worst STDs you can have, and yeah, knowing Shane Black's humour, I did wonder if that was intentional. The cinematic subtext in this film, it is sheer cinema. Beyond that, the school is also called Lawrence A. Gordon Middle School. This is the name of one of the producers of Predator 1 and 2. He also produced The Warriors, which is the name of the middle school sports team. We then meet the other hero of the movie, Rory McKenna, played by Jacob Tremblay. Now, a big plot point for the film is that Rory has special needs. Sadly, Hollywood hadn't moved on from the portrayal of autistic people as being like super geniuses who could figure out the CIA codes by looking at a crossword. He instantly figures out how to win the chess game, but also struggles with things like the fire alarm being set off. He starts stimming to cope with the loud noises, and kids make fun of his conditions by saying he has Asperger's. That's Shane Black's subtle writing there, because it's Asperger's, and it sounds like Asperger's. You get it, mate, you get it. Now, having read like a few takes on the character from people with autism, I think the main issue that seems to come out from them is that the condition's presented as being like a superpower. Like, they even say it's an evolution of humanity. It's kind of romanticized to the point where a kid can fight the predator. Obviously, you know, your mileage is going to vary on it, but I don't think you can talk about this movie without someone saying it's reducing disabilities to play them up like this cool power to have, rather than just showing like the real difficulties that people live with. You know, just like The Good Doctor, it's almost a caricature, and maybe Shane Black wasn't the right person to handle a subject matter like this. I did also wonder if the dog barking at him returning home was also playing up how, in Shane's mind, he's something to be feared, because he's the evolution of humanity. Dogs in horrors, you know, it's often a cliche where they bark at something that's big, fearsome, and ferocious. The dog here is also kind of laying the groundwork for the future CGI mess of the Predator dogs, and his fear here could double into that. Just you wait until we get to that moment, though. Arriving home, we then see a wild note from his mum. She says if he messes up the house, she will cut him, which seemed a bit mental, but it's actually a callback to the first movie.
I don't care who you are back in the world. You give up position one more time, I'll bleed you. Real quiet. Leave you here. Got that?
Oh, okay, I guess maybe that's not too bad, I guess. We then see that the biomask and gauntlet have arrived at Quinn's house. One thing you want to do, mate, yeah, if you have an autistic son, you want to make sure they get highly advanced alien weapons when you're not around. It'll be fine. He's a genius, don't worry about it. Predators are scared of him. Now, it turns out that Quinn's missed a couple of payments for his post box, but this makes the timeline really, really confusing. Quinn must have not paid for a while for the post office to return his stuff. However, he excretes the cloaking device later in the movie, so maybe the lad's just been holding a shit-in for 5 weeks. The postman here is also played by Gary Chalk, who's voiced Optimus Prime in the past. This is a really deep cut, as Peter Cullen originally voiced the Jungle Hunter. Rory seems to have a lot of respect for his dad though, but it's kind of a shame we never see any sort of interaction between the two. Like, it even got to the point I had to double check they were father and son because they're never really together. Major scenes showing their strained relationship were actually cut from the movie though, and I think this would have added to what they were going for. Like, what's the point in having a father and son if you never show them as a father and son, that kind of thing. We then go from father and son to father and Munn. Yes, Olivia Munn is in the movie and she's playing Casey Brackett. If she looks a little dazed and almost frightened upon the guy's arrival, well, that's because they cut that Predator scene from the movie. That was intended to be a little longer, but she'd been pestered by a real-life predator before them being recruited. Without knowing that though, yeah, the scene's a little weird. Like, I can see how you'd watch this and have no idea what she's doing here, because she's like in a park, staring at dogs by herself, looking around like, oh, what's going on? Now, she works at the Johns Hopkins University, which is of course a real place, but it might be a reference to the first two movies. John McTiernan and Stephen Hopkins directed Predator 1 and 2 respectively. Whether that's a coincidence or not, I don't know, but yeah, worth including, I think. The dogs here again, though, they foreshadow the future Predator dogs, and she clearly loves dogs, so it makes sense why she's so nice to that, I guess. The guy in the suit then asks if she likes stargazing, but I feel this would have had much more impact had we had the original opening where they said Project Stargazer in the text. I mean, we would get what it was hinting at, but yeah, here, we don't know the organization's name yet. So, I heard you like stargazing, doesn't work as well. We then see the dossier on the fugitive and get the crash site from above. It states that the incursion was located in Nuevo Laredo, which is a city in Mexico. Originally, this ship would have been moved to Area 52, whereas in the movie, you know, he goes to Mexico after the start with a piss filter on, but don't have the piss filter on at the end, so how is it Mexico? Yeah, but that's where it is, and it's kind of all over the place. Also, couldn't help but chuckle at the insanely pixelated image of the fugitive. Despite the world having the best cameras known to man, all UFO and alien footage is somehow still 240p. The incidents of 1987 and 1997 are then name dropped, and we learn the visits are increasing in frequency. As mentioned earlier, we were going to get it dropped that this movie is 2007, so we'd have these 3 films taking place in 10-year gaps. Just as quickly as she's introduced though, we again cut to Rory's home and then meet his mother. Emily McKenna is played by Yvonne Strahovski, who you might recognise from Chuck, The Handmaid's Tale, and as the best girl Miranda Lawson in Mass Effect. She's actually the second Chuck cast member to star in a Predator movie, with her co-star Adam Baldwin playing Agent Adam Garber in Predator 2. It's then hinted how he's a super genius as he's finished all of his textbooks in a few hours. Basically shows that he's really good at linguistics and explains how he's able to decipher an alien language. Ain't got time for that though, because his mother wants him to go out trick-or-treating, offering either a pirate or Frankenstein monster. We might be reaching again, but these could be 2 clever Easter eggs. We learn that Yucha are using DNA from the greatest threats across the galaxy, and the upgraded Predator is kind of like a Frankenstein's monster. It's got multiple traits, it's big, hulking and grey, and yeah, that could be why it's here. The pirate might also be a callback to Raphael Adolini. He was the pirate who was betrayed by his crew, which led to him teaming up with the Predator. His pistol was then given to his unlikely ally and subsequently handed over to Mike in Predator 2. This was shown in the comic Predator 1716, but it's later been retconned in Prey. Adolini was also a translator for the Voyagers in that movie. But again, probably an insane reach. But I'm trying to polish a turd here, mate, and make the video at least interesting. His mother's urging him to actually go out into the world, but he's scared by the bullies. To him, even with a mask, people will know who he is. Thematically, that plays into what they're going for, as he later wears the hunter mask and is seen as an evolution of the species. But we cut again before getting any sort of proper interaction between the characters. Like, imagine a recap of a movie without any sort of time to get to know the characters. That's what we get here. We then see Quinn being interrogated at a veterans hospital. In the deleted scene, Traeger says how he's taking Quinn to a remote prison. However, in the final cut, it's more of a psychiatric hospital, which kind of explains why he meets the loonies. In order to keep the Yucha covered up though, they need to frame him as being insane. It actually kind of reminds me of Dr. Silberman in Terminator. Kyle Reese is of course seen as nuts, but we know he's telling the truth. In that film, we even had 2 cops behind a 2-way mirror like we have with Traeger here. It does at least make sense why he's put on the bus with the rest of the guys, but yeah, I'm not sure how well it works as a plot device. It is similar to how Sarah Connor was also kept on a psych ward in Terminator 2 though, so it might be a reach to that, and if you want to learn more about the Easter eggs in those films, both those breakdowns on our channel now. Either way, Traeger knows he's been in touch with the biomask and also the gauntlet, but for some reason puts him on a bus. It's out there in the world, not secure, but surely they'd want that locked down, like as quickly as possible. Also, why didn't they just have someone interrogate the guy who sent the package for Quinn, or intercept the post? I mean, they caught him right outside as he was sending it.
It makes no damn sense.
But again, we cut literally to a box cutter. Rory opens up his dad's belongings and then finds the biomask. It's a lot like the Jungle Predators, but it has a scratch over the eye. The battle damage looks great though, and it might have been caused by an enemy's wrist blade. The gauntlet is much more modern as well than the ones used in the first 2 films. Personally though, I'm not a fan of it, as it just looks far too smooth. The sort of retro futuristic tech for aliens looks far better to me than the modern, shiny, rounded edge tech we get here. Think the Terminal's an Alien Romulus as opposed to like the fancy tech of Prometheus. That said, I think what they made, it does look good, it just doesn't fit a Predator movie. To me at least. The Ichi are of course primitive hunters who happen to have advanced gear which 1 and 2 show better. They also got all their tech from the Amengi that enslaved them and thus don't really know how it fully works. They just use it and therefore never upgrade it, and if something breaks, just throw it away. Activating it though, the Kujad pops open and we see the Yuchi language. This is just like how we saw the temple map in AVP and the planet Earth in Predators. We would have also had a scene where it looks like he's controlling the Ark spaceship as well. This would then hint at the ending where he would fly the ship in the original version. It's very Flight of the Navigators, but yeah, that's all removed. I guess you could call it Shite of the Navigators. Again, the choppy editing is just far too confusing in this movie, and we don't spend enough time with each moment to really truly absorb it. We jump around a lot and get what feels like a third or half of a scene at a time. Now from here, we then jump back to the Veterans Hospital. But again, this scene feels short because they originally had a much more in it. We were going to get a flashback of Rory's parents and see them fighting as Quinn expressed frustration that his son was nothing like him. Gave that feeling he was a dad desperate to get home, but yeah, it's kind of like he just doesn't care. It's at this point though that he goes to meet the loonies. Their name is of course a play on the Goonies and that they're crazy lunatics, you get it mate. This was building off the back of the first film though and giving us a group of soldiers. Predator 1 had Dutch's squad, Predator 2 had Harrigan's team of cops, and Predators had the group of hardened killers. So we have the loonies now. Biggest downgrade ever. At first glance though, it does seem like a great group to have. Thomas Jane's Punisher, that's always been a guilty pleasure of mine, and he was of course superb in The Expanse. Here he's playing Baxi though, and as we learn, the character has Tourette's. It's mainly played for laughs, so we got like autism, Tourette's, insane asylums, and stuff involving sexual predators, all in the first 20 minutes. Yay! It's like one of those movies that you could never make today, but it's like 8 years old. However, we'll let it slide, yeah, because Black actually has Tourette's, so he said he added this because of that. And it's the most emotional, down-to-earth, gritty, realistic portrayal of it ever, and it just makes you feel so much. Now, his Marine unit was eliminated during a friendly fire incident, and he then ended up befriending the person who made the mistake. That's Coyle, who's played by Keegan-Michael Key. I did find it funny how, like, the year before, his comedy partner, Jordan Peele, he made Get Out, and then he's doing this shit. In the behind-the-scenes footage, though, he mentions how he's a massive Predator fan and he knew all the lore. So if you're watching, mate, the movie's great. However, saying that, he also didn't know Shane Black was in the original movie, so you're a fake fan. Take back your view. You're a fake fan, mate. Name 3 Predators, not ones that you worked with. We also have Nebraska Williams, played by Trevante Rhodes. His first name, Gaylord, is also played for laughs as well. And I remember hearing that name in high school and being like, oh, that's the funniest name I've ever heard. But we don't do that, mate. And but yeah, just imagine Shane Black writing this character and being like, we'll call him Gaylord, and like sitting killing himself laughing. But it's not that good of a joke, mate, if I'm being honest with you. Also, on this team is Lynch, who's played by Alfie Allen. At the time, he was playing Theon Greyjoy at the peak of Game of Thrones' popularity and was also in John Wick. He was finally breaking into the big leagues after being the basis of the song Alfie by his sister Lily. Weirdly though, he's barely got any lines, but he was in a fairly long deleted scene at the motel. We'll talk about that a bit later on, as it does fix a plot hole, but yeah, doesn't leave much impact in the movie. Now lastly, we have Nettles, played by Augusto Aguilera. The comedy, unfortunately, really ramps up with their arrival, and it's when the movie starts to take a dive. It's like Shane Black's character in the first film, but with no restraint, and pretty much every character's him. It's like the worst of any kind of MCU-type humor.
Hey, Baxley, if your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
Now, earlier I mentioned how Shane Black said how Deadpool may have paved the way for an R-rated movie to do well.
Is it just your imagination? Or is this haunted room actually stretching?
Every fucking time?
But yeah, it's just bad, and it's enough to make even Arnie facepalm.
You're shitting me. I'm not shitting on you.
No, but this is where we go next with the Project Stargazer base. This was filmed at the Cleveland Dam in the Capilano River Regional Park in Canada. That line from before, that's actually also a reference to the Haunted Mansion ride at Disneyland.
Is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination?
It's here that we meet Jake Busey, who plays Sean Keyes. In case you don't know, Jake is the son of Gary Busey, who played Sean's dad Peter in Predator 2. Later, when Casey looks at the tablet, we were supposed to see a picture of his father, and it would then cut to Sean to show how much they look alike. But yeah, that didn't survive the extensive edits that the movie went through. But it is in the novelization. There, Sean had a fair bit of a backstory, and we learned, like his father, that he also worked with Dutch. This was alongside the OWLF, which his dad was the leader of. It turns out that the OWLF recovered samples left by Dutch, which explains how they got all the artifacts that we see. Casey's stunned by the alien tech on display, and we see that all collectibles, mate. They're all rare collectibles. We see the Predator spear from AVP-1, which has a xenomorph tail as the tip. Below the spear is also the combi stick used by the City Hunter in Predator 2. On the other side of this, from left to right, we see the movie's biomask design, a plasma caster, and the Jungle Hunter's mask, which explains how Traeger has one later in the movie. Beyond that, another AVP weapon makes an appearance in the final fight. We see one of Traeger's guys as a Predator shuriken. It appeared in both AVP and Requiem and ends up cutting off his arm. Francoise Yip, who played Ms. Yutani in AVP Requiem, was also supposed to reprise her role here. That didn't come to fruition, but she was a tracking supervisor behind the scenes. We then see the captured Yucha tied to the table and being examined. Then Traeger comes in and drops an insane line.
Dr. Brackett, would you like to meet a predator? Ha!
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
Yeah, mate, just take a seat over there. As we see a closer shot of it on the table, we can also see its laboured breathing. We mentioned in our Predator 2 video that the Yucha struggle to breathe on Earth. We saw the city hunter breathe our air and struggle, and this then continues that trend. It's a great detail though that adds to the reason why the visits are increasing. Due to climate change, humans will become extinct and the Yucha will rule Earth. Also, like in the other videos, I mentioned that and got like 50 comments being like, climate change ain't real, mate. Climate change is not real. They literally say that's the reason in the movie, mate. That's what they say in the movie. It would be like Yoda explaining the Force and me going, the Force isn't real every time he does it. It's in the movie.
How long before climate change renders this planet unlivable?
It's in the movie, mate. Because of this, though, in the movie, the upgraded Predators are planning to invade the planet, but the suit will give us something to fight back with. Now, Brackett seems to think that the Predator name is stupid. Predators hunt to survive, whereas these guys do for sport. She remarks it's more like a hunter, with that being the working title of the original film. A nice deep cut for you there.
Technically, it's not a predator. It's like kind of a...
Thank you.
Hunters are also what they refer to them as an AVP.
The humanoids, the hunters. They brought those creatures here to hunt.
Hunter is exactly what Carl calls them later in the movie as well.
A hunter.
Casey also says,
"You're one beautiful motherfucker."
Which is a callback to these lines from the other films.
You're one ugly motherfucker. You are one ugly mother.
Now, we learn that this fugitive has human DNA. It forms the core of the movie and sets up the motivations going forward. Taking DNA from the best of the best of the best, sir, the upgraded Predators are also doing that as well. I do wonder if that's so they can adapt to our world easier, but they are clearly modifying. I did even wonder if he's modified himself to keep up with the rest, but he's still far behind. It's kind of like Nebula in the MCU though. Every time she lost a fight, Thanos would give her a horrifying new upgrade. For me though, it's a plot line which doesn't really fit the franchise. Yucha have a code of honor, and despite having advanced tech, usually have a fair fight. Near the end, the upgraded Predator also wants to take Rory to harvest his autism, which is just mental. Imagine explaining that to the studio. How about putting humans in stasis is something that's now become part of the canon, as we were shown it during Killer of Killers. That also filled in how they got to the planet in Predators, and they were potentially doing something similar with Rory. During this, we also have Casey flipping through photos on a tablet. These have images from the first two films and kind of build off that. Now, originally, we would have actually seen some Yucha working with Project Stargazer. We had two emissary Predators who would assist the program and even help in the final fight. They defected from their clan a year prior and came to Earth to warn of the invasion. However, these were cut from the movie, including the gigantic section involving Area 52. Brackett then asks about the only person who's seen it. She's told he's being processed, and we then cut to the loony bus.
We have a request to reroute.
We hear that the bus is being rerouted to Starkweather Dam, which is where Stargazer is. Quinn is then pressed on why he's on the bus, and he mentions he saw an alien. It's a classic trope that, if people have seen UFOs before, they're in the film, they always have a bit where it's like, you guys are crazy, and then the aliens show up. The most memorable of those, for me though, it's Independence Day. Russell. No one believed he was abducted by aliens, but he's got one of the best swan songs in history.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Kinda wish I was breaking down that film instead, but maybe the Skull and Predator Badlands, maybe I'm gonna have a reason to now. I finally fulfilled. But yeah, even the loonies don't believe him.
Shut the fuck up! Would you shut the fuck up?
It's at this point though that the upgraded Predator makes his entrance. On board his ship, we see Rory deciphering the Yucha language. He also figures out the cloak and even decloaks the upgraded one's vessel. Never understood how they can control a ship from a gauntlet, but they did something similar in Predators when they blew up the ship at the end. So I'll let it slide. This then leads to the guy from Scary Movie noticing it and calling in a fighter jet. Just as you think things are ramping up, we then cut back to Project Stargazer. Again, script's frantic, all over the place, and yeah, really need a second look. Even with the editing, when the fugitive wakes up, it's just all over the place. Like you can't see any of the fight scene at all. We don't get a good look at the combat because nothing is allowed to be on screen for more than a second, and yeah, just cuts back and forth constantly. Traeger then bails while Brackett picks up a gun and goes full Ripley mode. Interestingly, I also wonder if her name's an Easter egg. Lee Brackett was a female science fiction writer, and she's regarded as the queen of the space opera. Either way, she has to strip down and decontaminate in order to escape. Picking up its body armor, the fugitives then able to repeat Agent Church's voice, and this opens up the door. During this, Brackett has to get nude so she can be clean before leaving the lab. This leaves her really vulnerable, and she's sort of at the Predator's mercy. The scene reminds me heavily of Alien 3, and I did wonder if that was intentional. There we saw Ripley come face to face with a Xeno, but it smelt the alien queen embryo inside of her. Really plays into the horror aspects of the creature though, and I really wish they'd gone with this kind of tone. Just like Alien 3, it looks at her and walks off, but they never really address exactly why they did it. Like, she still points guns at it and stuff, and it's like, you've got the reason there, but they just never bring it up again. Being naked though, and afraid, yeah, she's not a worthy target at all. It is kind of similar to 2022's Prey, where Naru was not deemed a threat either. Now, originally, she got knocked out by the tranquilizer, and the fugitive would then smirk at her naked body. Why did you cut that bit, mate? We then see our boy steal a gun and hold it sideways.
Hey, Chief, can I hold my gun sideways? It looks so cool.
Now, up until this movie, we'd only really seen the creatures using advanced tech. But yeah, this is a last resort, so it makes sense a fugitive would use anything he could get his hands on. It's been a thing in the expanded universe for quite a while as well, so this isn't out the norm. Like happens over and over, and we've even seen one use Dredd's iconic lawgiver in their crossover comic. It then manages to see through the biomask Rory has and is able to work out where he is. Brackett then reminds me even further of Ripley as she walks along with her gun. This may be a reach, yeah, but it does look like a callback to the elevator scene in Aliens. She's then urged to not let the Predator get away by Sean Keyes. Now that is the last time we see Sean Keyes, as Busey doesn't pop up later. We never learn if he survived, despite going back to the project at the end. I did try and find any extra scenes involving him, whether he was at Area 52 or not, but yeah, they just cut his character completely. Does show though problems with his script and probably needed a second look. Unfortunately for the loonies though, they're all outside and waiting to be taken to the facility. They then see the alien and finally accept Quinn's telling the truth.
What's the difference between 5 big black guys and a joke? Baxley's mom can't take a joke.
Alright mate, you're spoiling the mood, yeah? I'm trying to have a serious moment here. But it's in this that they manage to take over the bus. Brackett then races outside and sees that signature trail of green blood that's been laid throughout the series. We then see the Uchi jump up like it's Psy coming onto stage. The parkour skills are fully on show here as it jumps and rolls while Brackett lands on the bus. Quinn then pulls out a shotgun that reminded me heavily of Terminator 2, and despite being a sniper, he misses every single shot. Unfortunately, Brackett also shoots herself in the foot literally and knocks herself out. They have like a goofy bit with Munn, but yeah, it just makes everyone seem a bit incompetent. These are the guys who are going to take down the Predator. The bus is then disabled and we get the most egregious callback yet.
Get to the choppers!
But here they're motorbikes, aka choppers. Though Traeger tells his soldiers to eliminate her, she's then saved by Quinn. I think in another film you'd have maybe made like a love story out of these two and just cast the whole family thing to the side. But they're trying to force Quinn's connection to Rory, and Rory needs a mother, so like, yeah, it's just convoluted. Like, did he get back with her because he proved he was the hero? We don't know. I've got no idea. These characters just keep disappearing. Either way, they then escape as the Stargazer soldiers are brutally wiped out. The fugitive hides in the back of the truck, and I would say the comedy hits a low point here, but it's like the whole film. The driver asks if everything's okay, and then it holds up a soldier's severed arm with a thumbs up, which I'm not gonna even ask for a thumbs up either, because I don't think I deserve it, and I don't think this movie deserves it. It wouldn't be appropriate. Dismembered arms, though, they're sort of a franchise staple. Later we see Lynch get his arm cut off, the hybrid gets his arm cut off as well, and we also had Dylan in Predator 1. Harrigan also cut off the Hunter's arm in Predator 2. So it's sort of like poetry they rhyme. We also get a dogfight with the upgraded Predator ship being attacked. Luckily for him, the shield makes the ship impervious to damage. The hexagonal design also allows parts of it to disappear so the guns can extend out. which also kind of foreshadows the end of the movie. There we see Nettles lose his legs as the shield turns on, and it's a good little visual clue here as to what's coming down the line. Both planes then get wiped out as they're shot with a pretty badass plasma caster on the ship. Killer of Killers had a fantastic dogfight between World War II pilots and a Predator ship, which kind of riffs off this. Thankfully, Trachtenberg only stole the good ideas. As he exits the ship, we also get a call back to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, specifically the moment where the aliens are revealed with the bright light. Now if you think I'm reaching here, this is actually a deliberate reference, as Shane name-dropped the film in the lead up to the release. He said how he wanted it to have the same kind of wonder and newness that Encounters had upon its release, which, whew, much like Predator's tracker, we see him using dogs as the loonies hide out in a motel. We see Alfie Allen outside as they search for guns, and in a deleted scene, this filled in a plot hole. The dialogue is atrocious though, but he asked a biker to keep it down, and the biker then came over and they had a fight. We'll play the bit of the scene.
You're gonna make me fairy boy?
Am I gonna make you fairy boy? How's that supposed to work? Like, I'm supposed to give you powers or something, like a wand? I'm confused.
This then impresses a biker chick, and off the back of this he's able to buy the weapons, which explains where they later get their arsenal from. This is mainly in the RV, and in the deleted scene we see the gun salesman with said vehicle. So it's implied Lynch stole it. But, as mentioned, it's awful, so I can see why they would rather have the plot hole in this scene in the movie. We then get some more information about Nebraska and learn that the COE shot was actually him. He tried to end his own life, but survived as the bullet just stayed lodged in his skull. I really like this interaction though, as the pair are by far the best actors in this ragtag group. But that's cut short as Brackett wakes up and the crew turn into the old slapstick comedy troupe. It's a bit of banter in which they've left an unloaded shotgun near the bed and they bet on whether Casey will grab it and try and shoot McKenna or some shit. She wants to leave either way, but as Quinn explains, they'll kill her if she gets back to Stargazer.
Eat your pussy.
What?
I said sheesh, you're pushy.
This might be a callback to Hawkins' joke in the first movie, and if you ever need a pussy joke in a film, mate, Shane Black's the guy for you. We also see Nettles leaves a unicorn made out of foil for her. Now, I do wonder if this is a reference to Blade Runner, where the origami unicorn was a big part of the film. The Whaling Corporation was in that, and then we had the connection with Weyland-Yutani. Both were made by Ridley Scott, and are thought to be canon in his Alien universe, which is of course also part of this. I also wonder if Shane Black took some inspiration from Snow White. We see a sleeping beauty wake up in a room full of idiots, and you kind of get that feeling. It's then that they realize the creatures are gonna look for their tech. Thus, the kid is in danger. Putting on the helmet, we see the Predators going through their upgrade process. It's pretty similar to how the fugitive was strapped to the table at Stargazer, which might be why he went absolutely mental when he woke up. But hey, waking up in a lab like this, it's enough to make anyone start tearing people's faces off. Quinn then finally makes it back, and he has a bit of back and forth with his wife, / ex, because she says he doesn't live there anymore. But they still refer to him as her husband later. Did they get back together though? That's what I want to know. Or did he go with Olivia Munn? That's what I need to know. I need the sequel now, Shane Black.
So he might be a lousy husband, but he is a good soldier.
In a deleted scene, we then saw the crew check out his house before they went to find the package. Originally, I did wonder why he went directly to the house when he was on the run, because yeah, you're risking capture. Traeger also turns up here while they're watching and asks to speak to Rory. Kind of feel like this should have been kept in though, as it seems like a dumb move in the theatrical release. Either way, he just turns up to see the masks being taken. He's angry that his son may have also been playing violent video games like first-person shooters. Clearly not wanting him to be exposed to violence, but good luck mate, he's going to say everyone's head's getting ripped off in this movie. However, his wife says he might just be doing it to get a connection to his father, which is like such a weird thing to add in as well. From here we then cut to Rory at night and get my favourite Easter egg in the movie. As he walks along the street, we can see a big red lobster costume, which is actually the original design of the Predator. I'll not go over all that again, but in case you don't know, this was the costume when they first started shooting that first film. This was played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he was then fired when Stan Winston did the redesign. But Black would obviously have seen this all being shot, and yeah, nice little throwback. Nebraska also says the alien looks like Whoopi Goldberg, which has been a meme for quite a long time.
You know who Whoopi Goldberg is? It's like an alien Whoopi Goldberg.
Nebraska then gets his crew to join McKenna in his search for his son, albeit reluctantly.
I didn't like your speech. It didn't really inspire me. What? He called me a pussy and nobody calls me pussy, so Okay. Fuck off, pussy.
We then catch up with Rory, who's gone to house 420, which also has a stoner flag. 420 stoner flag, you get the reference. You sit around watching hour-long breakdowns of The Predator, mate. You get the reference there. The bullies then catch up to him.
Hey, Asperger! Leave me alone. For what? You wash your hands 500 times?
Which, fucking hell, mate. When he says trick or treat, the cadence also reminds me heavily of the kid in Predator 2 saying, "Want some candy?"
Trick or treat? Want some candy?
Which, yeah, when the Predator was saying, "Want some candy?" it was a bit like he was an actual predator. Like a predator on Earth, you know what I'm saying. The kid's then bonked on the head, and the plasma caster activates as it detects a threat. Our lad finally got one over on the bullies by brutally murdering someone and blowing up a house. Yay! Luckily, the squad hears he's got the gauntlet on the police scanner. Despite being spooked by a dog earlier, he ends up stroking one that's randomly walking around the field. But the dog barking doesn't affect him here, which is odd. Like, no consistency in the writing, mate. It's here that the predator dogs then arrive. It's weird having a dog and then, like, another dog arrive, and, like, you had the first dog to come and then introduce the other dogs. It's still all over the place. I even have a scene when they drive away on the bus and that dog's running over, but then you never see the dog again. Like, what's going on? Quinn then arrives to save his son, and he's brought guns, including a grenade launcher. Without the deleted scene, though, these just appear out of nowhere, and the whole section's very, very messy. The dogs just stand around for most of it being bullet sponges, and one explodes in the air after swallowing a grenade. We also get one shot with a cattle gun, which kind of lobotomizes it. It just stumbles around and, yeah, it sort of becomes a running joke.
Okay, new rule. No one shoots my fucking dog.
Nebraska does this by shooting it in the head, which is sort of a reference to how he shot himself in the head and failed. Also, I did chuckle that even the dogs have dreadlocks. I much prefer the design in Predators though, and yeah, it's just weird seeing how they're basically predators with dog buddies. Brackett does give an explanation for the dreadlocks though, and explains how they're like sensors. Same way that cats have whiskers. The fugitive then arrives and holds Nettles up. He attempts to parley with them, but Quinn acts like an idiot and fires. This leads to a chase at the school, which is when the upgraded predator arrives. We then get a scene that's similar to the Jungle Hunter versus the Super Predator. It has no biomask as it can see thermal vision naturally, and even has an exoskeleton it can activate. Beyond taking the Iron Man suit at the end, Shane also took another iconic moment from Tony Stark. We have a bit where the upgraded Predator dodges the plasma caster, exactly like Tony dodges a tank shell in Iron Man 1. The fugitive is then demasked, which reminds me of a luchador. By that I mean the ultimate disrespect is that your mask is taken off by an opponent, and this moment to the Predators would be just as humiliating. His spine's then ripped out, which is yet another franchise staple that we've seen across the films. Shane does try to expand the law as to why they do that though, other than it looking metal as fuck. The key to upgrading, that's in the spine though. That connects directly to the brain and then runs down to the rest of the body. So by taking them, they're able to not only gain trophies, but also get the best power-ups from across the galaxy. The little device on the gauntlet was actually also going to be integral to this and the whole hybridization plotline. However, this was axed and it kind of becomes a pointless MacGuffin. Back at Quinn's house, we then see the Men in Black are waiting for his return. With nowhere to go, they hide out in a barn, which as mentioned was used in Smallville. However, it's not long before the Predator dog arrives and then Traeger and his goons locate them. We then see him interrogate Brackett and Quinn. She calls the fugitive Thing 1, which is a reference to Dr. Seuss. Traeger is furious though and explains that the Predators want to inherit Earth. It's a big going out of business sale and they want to get all the human DNA they can before we go extinct. He rattles off some speech about how there was once a shortage of Twinkies when Hostess went bust and how you had to get them while they lasted, which is weird dialogue. As Traeger says though, they thrive in hot environments. Anna explained this in the first movie and it's why the Jungle Hunter arrived during a heat wave. But recent movies like Killer of Killers, they've shown they can hunt in snowy places. Perhaps they've also learned to adapt there, or they might be big and bulky like the Hulk one that we see in the movie. Now originally, after the fugitive was killed, we would then see 2 emissary predators come and help the squad. We'd see them drive APCs, and I remember seeing these shots before the movie came out and be like, what the fuck's going on? Kind of reminds me of the dancing in the behind the scenes of Predator 2, and I think it would have just taken the movie in such a weird direction. Quinn is also interrogated, and he says, "Did I say that out loud?" Which is a callback to when he was told not to say things out loud when he was led to the bus.
You shove me again, I'm gonna break your neck. Did I say that out loud?
So where is it this time?
Mother's ass. Wait, did I say that out loud?
The upgrade then arrives at the house and tears the agents apart. Desperately looking for the capsule, it then scans the home. We also see a Pikachu during this and a Parasaurolophus toy as he looks at the notes and sees the name McKenna. Turns out the kid had drawn a map of where the spaceship actually is, and is then drawing one with the soldiers as well. Feels a bit ridiculously convenient as it leads Traeger to where he needs to go. Also, I checked the time during the scene and I couldn't believe we had 40 minutes left at this point, because nothing really happens from this point onwards. Either way, he then grabs Rory and he takes him to where the ship is. This then leads to the final showdown. Also, speaking of convenience, the Predator dog manages to eat a grenade, which it then coughs up to give to Brackett. Feels like they only really had this one idea, as they do it again at the end of the movie. Quinn then finally excretes the cloaking device, and Nettles, Coyle and Braxley manage to steal a helicopter. Like a news one for two women. Don't know where they got it from, but what the hell, sure. Following the Predator dog, this then leads them back to the ship. Arriving at the crash site, we see they've already somehow managed to set up an entire dig site.
Nice reverse psychology. I can do that too. Don't go fuck yourself.
Like every character, even the kid talks like Shane Black in this movie. We then get Traeger explain that since 1987, they've been trying to translate what those bird chirping motherfuckers were saying. But it's not actually bird sounds. Peter Cullen, who's the voice of Optimus Prime, he came up with the whole croaking thing during the production of Predator 1. He based the sounds on a dying upside down crab that he once witnessed on a beach. Now, Rory's been able to translate some of it and they managed to enter the ship. As mentioned though, originally this would have actually taken place at Area 52. The upgrade would then arrive and it would lead to a massive firefight sequence. This then led to an ending that played out completely different in the original cut. The Predator spiders would then kill Lynch and mortally wound Baxley. This led to Coyle putting down his friend and he would then die at the hands of the emissary Predator. Now it's in the ship that we see the Predator kill a pod and our boy Quinn comes to save his son. He pops up having used his cloak and we then get this line.
What, you're gonna kill us with a fucking trank gun?
You took my boy, so yeah.
Taking Traeger hostage, he then makes a break for it. Just such a weird turn for Traeger as well, as he slowly gets more and more unhinged. And comedic as well. I feel like if we had have seen him defy Woodhurst's orders or go rogue, it would explain why he was such a loon in this final act. Things kind of devolve into a final hunt, and this in itself is also a really weird way to take things, if you look at it logically. I know there's no logic in these movies, but just bear with me. The upgraded Predator arrives and then kills Alfie Allen, which then leads to a mad scramble. Rather than just wiping everyone out though, it's here that we get it basically telling us we're having a final action sequence.
I have enjoyed watching you kill each other.
We learn that the upgraded Predator wants the greatest hunter, who it says is McKenna. Therefore, we're going to have a big fight for survival, a big Royal Rumble, and though people assume the greatest hunter is Quinn, it's Rory's name he read before, so yeah, kind of teases that twist. But basically though, it becomes like a challenge in which they have to play by its rules. With a 7-minute head start, they can grab what they need and try to survive. Just kind of a weird way to force things into a challenge though, rather than making it make sense with the plot. Obviously, you know, you need an action scene to end the movie, but having a character literally say, we need an action scene, it's weird writing. Now beyond that, the upgrade also needs to destroy the crash fugitive ship. This is because their tech cannot be left in human hands. Much like how the Jungle Hunter and the ones in the AVP flashbacks blew themselves up, the Ucha are supposed to leave no trace at all. They're not even supposed to be known to exist by the humans. This is also a reason that they wear cloaks, but yeah, kind of all out the window here. We've got the Predators attacking army bases, homes, schools, and yeah, I don't see how he'd cover this up. As they head into the woods, we also see Traeger's got the plasma caster, with this ultimately being his undoing. Later he gets distracted mid-fire and his head's blown clean off. The mask also falls and fires at the upgraded Predator, which is very much like Prey. There we saw Naru use it to target the feral Predator, and again, he stole the best stuff. Now I'm unsure if Brackett meant to kill Traeger by calling out his name, but that's what happens. Either way, it's a bit weird to kill the human villain of the movie like this, and he goes out a bit like a dingus, like it's a dingus death. Originally though, General Woodhurst's sniper would kill him after they entered the ship, and at this point on, the military leader would introduce himself. As for the loonies, they all make their final attacks on the Predator as it's set ablaze. Leads to some Some emotional moments, mate, and oh god, I can't believe they're gone. Them lads both shoot each other, so there's no pain, and they do it at the same time, mate, because they're connected. Looks like the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and that is cinema. That's the most touching moment of my life. Quinn then drops another soundbite after the upgrade, says McKenna.
Hey! I'm the one you want! Right here! Come on, you ugly...
Which is a nod to this line in the first movie.
Come on, come on.
Kill me, I'm here! Kill me!
Poor old Rory is then taken as it's revealed it's actually him that the alien wants.
No, he said he wanted McKenna. The next step in the evolutionary chain. Not you, your son.
The survivors then jump on the ship as it starts to fly back home. This also leads to the death of Nettles in Nebraska. We see Nettles cut up by the force field and Nebraska sacrifices himself. His story has come full circle as he tried to end his own life. He's doing this again, but it's in a way that saves humanity, and in doing this, Quinn's able to get into the ship. Beyond that though, I do like the force field cutting effect, and it's quite a nice addition to the tech. With the ship beginning to crash, Quinn then gets strung upside down in a clear visual nod of the Predator's trophies. Reaching the ground, we then get our final battle between man and hunter. We also have the scorched earth due to the crash, which makes it akin to the aftermath of the nuke in the first film. Brackett then joins in the fight as well, and man and woman show who the best hunter is. Managing to beat it with its own arm, the Predator then lies on the ground dying. Quinn then asks,
What are you?
Which is a callback to...
What the hell are you?
There, Dutch decided against finishing it off, however, here Quinn shoots it several times. In the original cut, he would then look at the sky and say, "So, come and get us, motherfucker." Kinda plays off the end of Predator, in which they look up to the sky and wonder what was next. He then finally says goodbyes to the one no one will remember, which brings things full circle from him losing his unit at the start. Just really sad, but anyway, from this we cut to Project Stargazer, which Rory's now a part of, because why not?
Why?
We see the Predator killer armor come out, and it's revealed to be insanely powerful. But as mentioned earlier, we were originally going to get something much cooler. 2 alternate scenes were filmed, with one showing Newt from Aliens, while the other showed Ripley. Both will be wearing a Whirly-Newtoni device, which would have been a wild way to take the franchise. However, it is of course very confusing, as Newt was of course poochied at the start of Alien 3. Also, Aliens is set in 2179, so they'd have to explain the whole time travel thing. Brianna Watkins, who played Newt in this moment though, she mentioned she'd come back and warn humanity of an impending threat, which was obviously also setting up the Xenomorphs, but it sounds awful, so I'm glad we avoided it. We also got a stop-motion holiday special, which was added to the home release. This was a mashup of the Predator and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The Predator kills Santa's elves during it, which leads to jolly old Saint Nick teaming up with Rudolph to take them out. Eventually, he then gets handed an Easter Bunny gift basket with a Xenomorph egg in it. As you can guess though, thankfully, the movie didn't get any sequels, and the studio completely lost faith in the franchise. They then handed the reins over to Dan Trachtenberg, but Prey went straight to streaming. It's only because, though, that was so well received that they finally realised, yeah, maybe Predator's not dead, bring it back. It's now getting a big movie with Badlands, and yeah, obviously Killer of Killers has just dropped this year as well. As for this movie though, it was made for $88 million, and it only raked in 160. 160 million, not $160, because that would have been really bad. Considering this was back in 2018 though, and the box office was pretty healthy, it had a very poor outing, which was no doubt due to the bad reviews and the poor word of mouth. Black had also originally planned an entire trilogy, but yeah, this completely put an end to it. So in the end, universally, I think it's sort of being the lowest point in the franchise, one of the worst franchise film sequels ever, and yeah, just getting through this movie, I deserve a fucking medal, and so does Matt, who also worked on this video massively as well. We deserve medals! Overall, though, it's just a total misfire on all levels. Both AVP franchises were dead until Prey, and then Romulus hit screens, and thankfully we're getting more, but yeah, it was a rough time being one of those fans. I am hoping that they then finally tie these all together and give us that Aliens vs Predator film that we've been craving for a while now. Thankfully though, this one's over, and we can now move on to the second best Predator movie in 2022's Prey. Yes, I'm saying that, the second best one. Huge thank you for checking out this one, leave your thoughts below, and yeah, did you know, members of the channel also get early access to videos for just 99 cents a month. Videos like this, mate, you can see it earlier than anyone else, and all you have to do is pay less than $1 a month, less than $12 a year, and it's all for you. Nah, but we appreciate it massively, and yeah, if you want something else to watch, then there's a video on screen right now. We're going to all the Predator movies as well again, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you on Prey. I pray to see you there, mate. I pray you're there. You take care. Peace.